Okay, good morning. Can everybody hear me? My name is Jessica Kapkar. Sorry about that. I had a slight technical difficulty for a moment, but I wanted to welcome everybody to the webinar. As I mentioned, I'm with the Better Business Bureau, and I know it's been a weird couple of weeks for everybody. It's kind of an unprecedented and uncertain time. So we really wanted to make sure that we were providing as many resources as possible for our businesses and our consumers. When we were doing that is making sure that we are, getting with all of our partners and providing as much information that they have at this time to our businesses and our consumers. A way that we're doing that is through our new web platform, trustlocal.org. And that's a great place to go to find all of the resources that we have available. We have partner resources, so that's, insurance such as, Adam with USI, and any government resources. All of our webinars are going to be housed there. And we are recording this webinar this morning, so we will be sending this out to all of the attendees, and you'll be able to find it on trustlocal.org. But it's also got a survey that businesses and consumers can fill out, letting us know kind of what your pinch points are right now. And obviously in the future as well, I think it's going to kind of be an unfolding situation in the next couple of weeks. So we really want to stay engaged with our community and make sure that we are providing as many resources and as much help as we can to make sure that everybody's kind of in the know and prepared for what might be unfolding. So anyway, I want to go ahead and introduce Adam Deal. He is with USI Insurance. Adam, are you still with us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Great.
Perfect.
So I'm going to go ahead and let Adam take over, and I will. And Adam, would you prefer with questions? Would you like the kind of to go as we go, questions as we go, or wait till the end? What's your
Let's
preference?
go as we go, just because there's certain topics and I don't want people to forget about them. So if somebody has a question and types it out, if you want to just relay that over to me, I'd be more than happy to address.
I absolutely will. So there should be a box for everybody to enter questions as they come up. I will make sure that I am monitoring that, and we'll ask as we go. And then obviously if there are any at the end, we can circle back on those as well. But Adam, if you want to go ahead and take over, I will get the slideshow going here.
Perfect. So thank you everybody for joining once again. My name is Adam Deal. I am with USI Insurance. So I work with USI Insurance on property and casualty insurance for businesses. I want to thank everybody for joining the call, especially for the Better Business Bureau for hosting the call. They do a great job of putting together resources for clients. So want to thank them, and if there's any resources outside of our scope and insurance, I'll relay all those questions back to them. So in regards to how the coronavirus is affecting insurance policies, from an insurance perspective, we've never seen anything like this before. I work here in Central Ohio, and the largest things we'll see in Central Ohio in a claims perspective is a tornado loss that affects multiple businesses at the same time. So to give you guys kind of an idea of how this is affecting business owners, I've called every single client that I currently have as a policy holder through USI, and there was very limited businesses that weren't affected. So there's the obvious businesses from restaurants to daycare, but even the not so obvious businesses are also being affected by this. So healthcare organizations that no longer can run non-essential surgeries, the real estate market, to the rentees not paying their payments anymore. So every single client we're talking to is seeing an impact from this. On the presentation as well, I just wanted to do this as a high-level overview. If there's specific questions, reach out to me there, but I wanted to give you guys an idea on how the policies may react to that. Certain slides throughout this presentation as well have direct definitions, so I'll read directly off the slides for those direct definitions, but I'm going to include as many examples as possible on how these claims can impact the business. In regards to our partnership with the Better Business Bureau, we offer specific programs to accredited businesses and preferential pricing through Better Businesses accredited businesses. So that's kind of how our partnership works. And then I apologize in the background as well. My dog Buckeye, that's how you know I'm from Central Ohio. Here's my dog's name. If she barks in the background, I apologize in advance, but she kind of has a mind of her own. So next slide. So can we go to the next slide here? Perfect. So in regards to what we're going to discuss here today, topics for discussion, I'm going to go over a little bit about USI. I am going to go over business income coverage, which is the bulk of the questions, other coverage lines outside of business income, final thoughts, and then some resources we can provide. Next slide. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a delay, so just give me one second. Oh. Oh, sorry, did I go too far?
Nope, this is perfect. So a little bit about USI. USI is one of the largest insurance brokerages in the country. We have just over 200 offices and just over 7,000 employees, but I'm also the local presence here. So I am in the Dublin office. So any specific questions, I'm going to be the local resource for. I also only work with business property and casualty insurance. So if you have any questions regarding employee benefits, how your personal lines insurance, retirement, any of those things are affected by the coronavirus, let me know as well. I can put you in the right direction, but this presentation and my specialties are strictly property and casualty insurance. Next slide. Perfect. So next here, the majority of the questions I'm getting is, what does business income cover? All the policies I've had is, how does my policy react? And is there any way for my insurance policy to pay out for impacts we're seeing from the coronavirus? So business income is an essential part of any business owner's policy. So what that falls under is under the property form. So the components you'll see of that is if you have building coverage, dwelling coverage, or business personal property, most likely you have business income on the policy as well. So definition of business income. So business income forms cover the net income plus continuing normal operating expenses that a business would have earned had no covered direct property damage loss occurred. So what that means is, let's say this is outside of a pandemic situation here. So you have a fire, you can't run your business. This is basically paying you to rent space, run your business, keep the operating expenses going, make sure the business can keep functioning during a direct physical property damage. So the forms you're going to look on the policy for in this example are going to be two forms. So the first form is going to be business income without extra expense. So that's CP0032. You might also have business income with extra expense. That is CP0030. The difference between there is most of you will have the first one without extra expense. The with extra expense are for certain organizations that need to function almost immediately after a business income claim. So we'll see insurance agencies, you need to be able to file a claim, banks, newspapers. One of the most popular examples is the New Orleans Times resumed immediately after Hurricane Katrina. So they had business income with extra expense. Next slide. So there's two forms of business income losses. There's direct loss and there's indirect loss. So what a direct loss is payment for the actual loss of business income you sustain due to necessary suspension of your operations during a period of restoration. So what does that mean for you guys? So in regards to direct loss, that's generally evidenced by the change in physical characteristics that require repair. So in regards to repair, that can mean a fire, tornado, floods. Those are direct physical losses. So the argument here in regards to the insurance company is, does my policy respond due to a virus, So does a virus or bacteria change the direct physical characteristics of my business? And if the answer is yes, how long is that virus present? So let's say that you can argue that the policy has had a direct physical characteristic that requires repair. So what the insurance company is going to argue on the other end is how long does it take you to disinfect the property then? So let's say worst case scenario, it takes you 2 days to disinfect the policy. Almost every physical direct loss has a 72-hour deductible on the policy. So what that means is, let's say you file a claim for a physical damage due to a virus or bacteria, okay? And there's a 72-hour deductible. So you clean the place, it's ready to go. Then it's infected again. That's a whole nother claim. So you have another 72-hour deductible and another 72-hour deductible. So if you can make that argument that you've had direct physical characteristics happen to the property, you then have the insurance company come back and say, hey, every single time you file that is a 72-hour deductible for you to clean the policy. So in that instance, it's not going to pay out in that regard. So let's go to the next slide here. So the next argument that we get is, well, what about indirect losses? What about civil authority? So what civil authority is government interference that keeps you from operating your business. So everybody has seen restaurants closing, retail stores closing. Isn't that civil authority? Well, yes, that is civil authority, but civil authority is also triggered by a direct physical loss. So an example of that is, let's say you have a strip mall and the street outside has a gas pipe that's leaking. It's a danger to your strip mall, so civil authority comes in and shuts down the strip mall. But that is proven back to a direct physical damage. So the government shut you down due to a direct physical damage. So even civil authority in this instance wouldn't be triggered by the policy because it's not directly impacting the business. And then the insurance companies also wanted to clarify this as well, due to a mandatory endorsement that ISO put on the policy. So it's exclusion CP 0140. So if you look for that on the policy, it was passed in 2006 as a mandatory endorsement. And the filing says that the presence of viruses was never intended to be covered due to pollution exclusion. So that's clarifying all gray area of these policies will not react due to a virus or bacteria on the business income policies. Next slide. So the $1 million question here is, if my policies aren't reacting, what is the point of us even discussing business income if there's no coverage? It's two things that this is really important on. So the first thing I want to discuss is this can be changed by litigation. So what I mean by that is they can put in case studies from lawsuits that you as a business owner can basically follow. So we're already seeing litigation examples. For example, in Napa, California, French Laundry Partners, which is a restaurant, has already filed a lawsuit against Hartford. And the lawsuit argues that the coronavirus contamination constitutes physical damage. So as I said before, that's going to be a very difficult lawsuit to win due to the 72-hour waiting period that a lot of these policies have. So even if you were able to prove that this was physical damage, the insurance company is going to come back and argue the waiting period on this. So if litigation does go through, that sets a good precedence on further cases. That's going to be the first thing that can happen. Litigation is typically taken out by larger companies and set the precedence for smaller companies because it takes a lot of money to effectively file a lawsuit against an insurance company. So that's way number one. The second way is the much more probable way that we're going to see this policy come into effect. So lawmakers in New Jersey led the fight for this on introducing legislation that would force insurance companies to pay out business interruption losses specifically in regards to COVID-19. So they put in there specifically because they don't want this to set a precedence for future cases of viruses and bacteria. So it's specifically for COVID-19. So Ohio lawmakers last Thursday introduced a House bill. If you want to track this, I'm not going to go through it really in depth because it's pretty long. It's House Bill 589. So I put a couple of highlights in there. So this is basically the same thing as the New Jersey bill, that business interruption, business income claims, they're used interchangeably there, would pay out rising from COVID-19. So current bill restrictions as they're seen right now. So policies need to be enforced by March 9th. The reason they put that in there is they don't want everyone that doesn't have this on their policy right now to go back and add it on there. So it retroactively needs to be enforced by March 9th for this to be in place. The businesses also must be in the state of Ohio. So these House bills need to be proposed in every single state or on a federal level. So currently we're seeing local state file these House bills. So the business must be in Ohio. And currently the way that this is written as well is this will only apply to businesses with 100 or fewer full-time employees. So large businesses as of right now won't have any effect on the policy from the House bill. So this is why I wanted to bring this up on business income, because this is 90% of the questions. The majority of policies will not react unless you have a specialized policy. Most businesses don't have the policies removing these exclusions from there, nor will a lot of insurance even allow you to do that. So what we're saying is we're actively watching litigation and government action on how these policies are going to pay out in the future. Next slide. So what this means for businesses, we want you guys to be proactive in collecting claims information. So as I said right now, a lot of these policies, or the majority of these policies, aren't going to pay out for business income. But let's say this House bill goes through, okay? We want you guys to already have a detailed narrative outlining the loss on, hey, when did the government shut my business down? How much lost revenue have I experienced from this? Have I had distributions in my supply chain? Am I not able to get material and inventory because it's coming from a heavily impacted area? All of these things are going to be important, that if this House bill goes through or litigation goes through, you guys are prepared to file a claim. So what we're saying is, if this takes 3, 4 weeks, months, you guys are prepared at that point in time. We also say, hey, track all wages of employees that are being paid but not working, and as well as all suspension of operations, including canceled and refused orders, which a lot of people don't think about as well. If you lost business due to canceling orders due to the coronavirus, keep track of that as well. The better details that you guys can keep during this period of time, the better it's going to be on the back end if a claim can be filed in the future. Next slide. So other areas of insurance that are being impacted by this. So business income is the bulk of my questions, 90% of my questions, but that doesn't mean that other areas of the policies aren't going to be impacted. So I've broken down a few areas that I think are very important for smaller businesses, but if there's larger businesses with specific questions on other areas, feel free to reach out direct and I'd be more than happy to help. Next slide. So the first one is cyber liability. So why is cyber liability important in this situation? Well, it's important because a lot of the work staff is moving to work from home, and a lot of them have never worked from home before. And this is a perfect storm of situations for cyber criminals to take care of. So let's give you guys a claim example of what can happen on these policies. So you've got a work from home staff, and an email comes from the owner with an updated link on CDC recommendations regarding the coronavirus. Unfortunately for your staff, this is a cyber criminal that created an email address switching one character in your email and sent it out as a phony lookalike email to you. It has a link in there. By the time they press that link, they've infected their computer with ransomware, and it will begin to spread to all of the employees. So now your work from home capabilities are completely shut down. So what do we suggest on this? We suggest for you to carefully review your cyber policy, because they are not all created equal. So cyber policies, to be in effect, need to cover data breach. So that is the base cyber policy. So it covers somebody directly hacking into your system and stealing personal health information, personal client information, personal employee information. The policies might not cover social engineering, extortion, which is ransomware, and regulatory fines and penalties. So what we're suggesting is please review your policy carefully, because this is a high spike in claim activity that we're right now. Does your policy cover all of the areas of a cyber policy should, or does it strictly cover data breach? So review policies very carefully to make sure that everything is in order if something were to happen on that front. Next slide, please. Next area that I wanted to cover is general liability. So general liability, as most people understand, bodily injury and property damage resulting from the insurance negligence. So typical claims that we'll see right now: slip, trips, and falls, somebody injured in the parking lot, those simple claims that are during normal business operations. But this has completely changed during the coronavirus here. So let's show you an example of how general liability can be changed. So I live in Marysville, and I commute to our Dublin office. We're doing our best to support local businesses, and we're taking a lot of takeout from restaurants. So let's say that a restaurant owner contracts the coronavirus, okay? They don't want to shut down their operations for a 14-day quarantine, because after 14 days, they might lose their business. So they don't say anything, the virus spreads to their employees. So that's immediately a work comp claim, but let's focus on general liability here. So that spike in claims and activity of the coronavirus is now to all of your employees. People come in to take takeout orders. They're interacting at their car, even dropping off the food at their car. They're speaking with them, they're breathing on them. That's transmitting the disease. At that point in time, there is a spike in outbreak here in the Marysville community, okay? And then people are confused. If everybody's on a stay-at-home order, how is everybody getting sick? So they go back and ask these clients questions on, how did you get sick? Where did you go? And it all comes back to your restaurant. And at that point in time, ask the question, did the restaurant act in negligence causing bodily injury to their customers? Absolutely they did. The owner knew that they had the virus, it spread to the employees, and it spread to the customers at that point in time. So absolutely they acted in negligence. Take that one step further there. So let's say you acted in negligence, spread the disease, and then one of the customer dies. That can be a multi-million-dollar claim at that point in time because of something that's completely out of mind. So we just need to make sure that everybody's keeping in mind how general liability can be affected by this, because since this is so new, there's no claims precedence for a pandemic like this. How's a lawsuit going to look? We've never seen a lawsuit like this. So keep in mind that other policies can be affected by this, especially the general liability policy. Next slide, please. Next one to keep in mind that I think is important as well is employment practices liability. So employment practices liability is designed to protect against wrongful acts arising from the employment process. This includes harassment, discrimination, wrongful termination, retaliation, defamation, and unfair hiring practices. So how can this possibly be affected by the coronavirus? So let's give you a claims example here. Let's say you're still an essential service, you're a plumbing company that has to go out to clients' homes to provide the service to them. And one of your employees is constantly harassing your customers due to their ethnicity. So they think their ethnicity is the reason why the virus is spreading. So completely out of proportion there, but it's happening. So that's not employee on employee, that's employee on customer, which is a third-party claim there. You have no control of this, you have no idea this is happening, and then you get a lawsuit in the mail that your customer has been harassing clients. So what can you do in here? Let's set a precedent and have an employee handbook, best policies and procedures. So this can also cause a spike in claims for even lines of coverage that you wouldn't even expect the coronavirus to impact. And what we're saying for all businesses to do, and I put this on the previous slides, is please be sure you review your policies thoroughly to determine if the coverage is even on there. Because if there's no coverage, there's not going to be any payout. But keep in mind that this isn't just a business income issue. This can affect all different lines of coverage. Next slide. So what are my final thoughts here? So final thoughts is you need to be in communication with your insurance agent. As I said in the first slide, I reached out to every single client that I had written. And at that point in time, we got that done within 2 weeks. And that's how I knew that this was such a problem impacting clients. And the relief that we provided to them, providing information on, hey, this is what you need to do. This is information you need to collect. We have resources to send out on how to file claims, how to collect information. That's communication that needs to be taking place with the insurance agents on how to prepare you and if your policy is even going to react. Do I even have the coverage? As I said before, take proactive steps to obtain this information. It's a lot easier to collect it now as it's happening rather than going back and trying to collect everything in a rush to file a claim. And things also to communicate with the insurance company. So the Ohio Department of Insurance, and this is how updated and rapidly changing this situation is, as of March 30th, so yesterday, is providing a 60-day grace period for property and casualty, life, and long-term care products. I know I'm only in property and casualty, but they've put a 60-day grace period if you don't pay your insurance premiums. So you can also request an extension above and beyond that for premium payments. So if you're struggling right now to pay your premiums, this needs to be a communication that you have with the insurance company to keep the policy in force. Review your cancellation terms and find favorable cancel rewrites. So what a cancel rewrite is let's say that your general liability is rating based off of $3 million in revenue. Due to the coronavirus, your revenue has dropped to $1.5 million. At that point in time, would it be favorable to write the policy again midterm off your $1.5 million in revenue, lower your premium payments now to save money, and then in the long term on the audit, it will come back and then re-rate the policy more accurately. So that's a quick way to reduce premium payments and a conversation definitely to have with your insurance agents. And above and beyond that, that's checking if your policy is audible versus non-audible, which I briefly discussed there. And then the last thing on final thoughts, this is not the time to cut costs by dropping your insurance policy. Once again, your policy might have coverage that'll pay out based off of government interference or litigation. Number one, let's say you cut your policy and there's an actual event that's causes physical damage, such as a fire, theft, burglary, all of that. The insurance policy is the last thing you want to cut as a business owner. Take all measures prior to doing that, such as extending premium payments, checking on cancel rewrites, before dropping insurance coverage, because at that point in time, none of these things that I'm discussing are going to be relevant. If we want to go to the next slide here. So resources. So a few resources, it was mentioned earlier, trustlocal.org. So this is a BBB provided resource, and I've looked through the resource. It is fantastic for business owners. So you're gonna go to trustlocal.org, local resources, and then business resources. So I specifically can help with the insurance category, but there's a ton of resources, SBA loans, things like that, that are going to be critical to you, to business owners. So use them as a resource. That's why you're an accredited business. So take advantage of that. USI.com/public-health-emergency. What that is USI has created a steer team that steer through epidemic and economic recovery. We have created a team specifically for the coronavirus. So the website listed there is a ton of resources we're providing to businesses to help them through the coronavirus. So feel free to use that, as well as contact me directly. Our business here is completely mobile at this time. So I'm working from home. That is my direct cell number. If you haven't talked to your agent, you have questions on your policies, if there's anything I can do to help, I'm available 24/7. That's my direct cell, 614-641-6563. Feel free to email me as well, adam.deal, DEEL@usi.com. It doesn't matter if you're a current USI client, not a USI client, not willing to change, I can still be a resource, and I want to help you guys through this difficult time. Next slide, please. And next to your questions, Jess, do we receive any questions typed in? Do you guys have any questions from the presentation?
We have not gotten any questions yet, but if anybody has one, feel free to go ahead and type it in the questions box. we'll maybe wait a few minutes. And as always, you can follow up with Adam or you can follow up with me directly. We will be, like I said, we recorded this webinar. We will be posting it. And Adam, if you're okay with it, we'll just go ahead and turn the presentation into a PDF so people can access that as well. We just got a question. The question is, where is the Ohio bill at right now?
So Ohio bill was just proposed last Thursday. So legislation hasn't even started on the bill. What I would suggest doing is being in contact with your insurance broker consistently, because we're going to be the ones tracking the bill. So there's no outcome right now. New Jersey hasn't had any outcome either, and New Jersey was the one that first put in the legislation. So as of this time, it's so fresh that we just want you guys to be aware that there is a bill proposed.
Were there any other questions that anybody had? We want to obviously be mindful of everybody's time. But if you have any last minute questions, you can feel free to send them in. If not, we will just go ahead and Adam, thank you very much for being on with us this morning and for being a resource. This was some great information. We will go ahead and get this posted, and I will send an email directly to everybody who's on the webinar right now. And as Adam and I both mentioned, you can find all of these resources on trustlocal.org. So if anybody has anything further, please let us know. But if not, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up and say thank you very much and stay safe and healthy out there.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.